The Effect of Pornography on Today's Society, a Rhetorical Analysis by Ashley Kirshen. During this presentation, together we will consider several myths about the role of pornography in our society today, analyzing each of them logically to determine their validity or lack thereof. Extreme feminist views depicted by writers like Andrea Dworkin mislead readers into seeing all pornography as being harmful and degrading to women, both directly within the porn industry and indirectly in the world outside of it. This presentation serves to discredit the idea proposed by Andrea Dworkin that women are unjustly objectified in everyday life today as a result of negative connotations towards women in the porn industry. Some of you hearing this may ask, so what? Whether an issue directly affects a person or not, people deserve to get both sides of the issue, and knowing all the facts clearly and concisely, they deserve to make the decisions about how they feel about pornography on their own. To do this, together we'll walk through each of the major points of what makes pornography so controversial in the first place, using logic to think through these issues critically. To start out, does watching pornography lead to sexual aggression or rape? Some extreme feminists, like Andrea Dworkin, claim that watching pornography leads a person to commit rape. On the contrary, when analyzed statistically, one will come to realize that this is a false assumption. It can be estimated that women and men each equally make up 50% of the population of the U.S., for a total of 100%. Statistically, 30% of 50% of the population, women who watch pornography, make up 15% of the total U.S. population. And 70% of 50% of the population, men who watch pornography, make up 35% of the U.S. population. Therefore, 50% of the population of the U.S., 15% plus 35%, watches pornography. Furthermore, 20% of women admit to being a victim of rape. Assuming that every one of these rapes was directly carried out by someone who has watched pornography, there is a minimum of 30% of porn-watching people who do not commit rape. Although it may be true that some rapists do commit their crimes under the inspiration of pornographic films, it is safe to say that watching pornography does not necessarily automatically lead a person to commit crimes of sexual aggression and rape, as some extremists suggest. Now you may ask, even if pornography does not lead to outright aggression against women, isn't it all still demeaning to women in general? As Andrea Dworkin points out through an example in her essay, Pornography, Men Possessing Women, some pornography can be demeaning to women, but overall, this is a very narrow and flawed viewpoint. Contrary to the example Dworkin used, there also exists a genre of porn called femporn, or dominatrix porn. In pornography of this style, women are depicted as being far superior to men. In this style of pornography, women are not degraded by men, but the opposite is true. Men are actually seen as inferior to women. As you can see in the images here, there are many examples, both in pornography and in other aspects of daily life, where women are depicted as being far superior to men. Notice that, in this photo, for example, the man is missing his shirt, while the woman is fully clothed. The man is on his knees, while the woman is standing upright. The man's head is down, almost as if he is bowing to the woman. The woman keeps her knee pressing on the man's back, and even carries a whip to keep the man submissive. As obvious from Dworkin's essay, it is true that some pornography really is demeaning to women. But as seen in the example used here, the generalization that all pornography is demeaning to women is simply inaccurate. Next, how is the relationship between men and women affected by the viewing of pornographic media outside the set of a porn scene, more specifically in the workplace? Extremists may claim that the porn industry is to blame for the pay gap between men and women in the workplace. But this claim is just a mere cop-out. It is true that women generally do make less money than men do when working the same job. However, according to the Economist article entitled "Closing the Gap," it is also true that this gap between the average men's salary and the average women's salary is actually decreasing. As you can see here, in the U.S. in 1980, women earned about a 36% lower salary than their male counterparts. But in 2010, this gap dropped to about 19%. According to the article "Internet Pornography Statistics" by Jerry Ropalato, the widespread use of pornographic material has greatly increased over the last 2 decades. Notice that the number of units of pornographic material sold in 1992 more than doubled by the year 2006. As the use of pornography becomes more widespread, the gap between men and women's respective wages gets smaller. Therefore, according to these statistics, the pornography industry has not contributed to the evident gap in pay between men and their female counterparts. If anything, the trends suggest the opposite to be true. It may be argued, and rightfully so, that our lives within the workplace are only one small part of our lives as average human beings. So what about the sexual relationships between average men and women in committed relationships, both outside of the pornography industry and the regular working world? Contrary to the ideas proposed by extremists like Andrea Dworkin, studies have shown that pornography lowers both women's and men's sexual aggression, sexual confidence, and overall self-esteem. A claim like this is made on the basis that people who watch pornography achieve a sexual satisfaction from the experience. Since this is the whole point of viewing pornography, without this achieved satisfaction, there would be no point for them to continue consuming it. Subsequently, the average person who has been exposed to pornography knows he or she can't compete with the idealistic images portrayed in the films, be it a conscious or a subconscious knowledge. As a society, in general, we turn to porn instead of human contact because it's just as good or even better than the real thing. In most typical cases, pornography does not inspire sexual aggression, but rather apathy. So, if couples become generally more apathetic and dissatisfied with their own sexual relationships, wouldn't that lead more people to seek other means of satisfaction? Does watching pornography lead to sexual disloyalty or cheating? On the contrary, porn does not cause people to cheat in their relationships. Although this argument has been used time and time again in the past, when thought through logically, it is clear that this is a pitiful, "the devil made me do it" attitude, in which pornography just happens to be at the wrong end of the accusation. As many doctors and social guidance counselors have proven, the use of pornography can, in some cases, actually strengthen committed relationships. In some cases, watching pornography together can give a couple ideas of new things to try adding to their own sex lives, and can help to keep the relationship interesting and exciting for both individuals. Also, as Dr. Joe Court explains, if a partner is not willing or able to fulfill all of their partner's sexual desires, the partner can turn to pornography to fulfill these desires, instead of sleeping with another person. Some people, however, consider the use of porn itself to be a form of cheating. Even though the person has not slept with another person, they have committed the crime in their minds and in their hearts. To this rebuttal, a logical thinker would retort that the definition of cheating and the severity of the word is to be defined amongst the pair in question, but the physical act of sleeping with another person outside of the relationship is not necessarily caused by the use of pornography. Some radical feminists may continue to stand firm against every argument presented previously in this discussion. The viewpoints of these individuals, however, are no doubt swayed by personal prejudice. As with every controversial issue discussed among people of opposing views, each individual is entitled to have his or her own opinion. However, when dealing with this particular issue of pornographic media's influence in society, From a logical and balanced perspective, it is clear that these extreme feminists are stubbornly relying on their past arguments and have allowed their judgment to be clouded by personal emotion and bias. In the end, there is no basis to say whether pornography has an entirely positive or an entirely negative effect on the way women are treated in society. Like all controversial issues, there are two sides to the story. As explained through the course of this writing, the ideas promoted by the porn industry definitely have some negative side effects, but there also are some positive ones. Pornography is depicted by some extreme feminists as being much worse than it actually is. When the issue is analyzed logically, it is clear that radical claims such as those supported by activists like Andrea Dworkin simply do not withstand.